Part 28. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 271. Peach Blossom Bridge is crowded with people. On the edge of the pier near Dahua Bridge, dragon boats are on the water, and the participating teams are gearing up. The name Peach Blossom Bridge sounds very romantic, but the bridge is not small. It is a huge steel double-arch bridge spanning the Xuanhuan River. There are also rails on the bridge that can pass rail transit vehicles. Because of today's dragon boat race, there are not usually many people gathered here. Peach Blossom Bridge is in the Hualong district of Shangjing City. When Xiaoping'an came, he was also startled by the bustle here. In the square next to Peach Blossom Bridge and on both sides of the pier for dragon boat racing, the people on the bridge were so dark that at a glance looking at it, it looks like going to a market during the Chinese New Year. There are too many people, at least 70,000 to 80,000 people. The police in black uniforms are still somewhat useful at this time. Each policeman is blowing a whistle and holding a red baton, and they are struggling to maintain order here. There are riot polices in many places on the streets, squares, and bridges. Cordon. There are many cruise ships leaning against the wide Xuanhuan River, also waiting for the dragon boat to start. Some of those who sit on the cruise ship to watch the dragon boats have bought their tickets early, and some are rich or expensive. It must be difficult for ordinary people to find someone in a place like this, but for Xiaoping'an, he just used his remote viewing ability to search and instantly saw Cao. Cao was on the Peach Blossom Bridge, occupying a good position to watch the dragon boats. He was also standing on tiptoes, trying hard to find himself among the crowd around him. Well, I hastily changed into a blue dress, and wore a beautiful wreath on my head. My hair was tied into a beautiful bow with a red silk scarf. My black hair hung down my shoulders, and I looked ethereal and beautiful. There is a different kind of beauty among the surging crowd. Looking closely, among the crowd around Cao, there are still a few experts disguised as ordinary people to protect him. Therefore, although there are many people around, Cao's side is relatively relaxed, and there is no trace of anything. Cao seems to be confused. Not aware yet. There are many young men and women who come here to watch dragon boats. Just when Xiaoping'an saw Cao, among the crowd, two idle young people who came to watch the fun also saw Cao. Their eyes lit up. After looking at each other, they showed malicious smiles and walked from the bridge. Both sides crowded towards the grass. Cao didn't notice anything wrong at all and was still looking around. Then, a figure suddenly rose into the sky on the bridge. Thump, thump. Water splashed under the bridge, and two people fell into the river inexplicably from the bridge. Ah, someone fell into the water. The people on the bridge shouted. This kind of thing is common. Every year when watching a dragon boat, someone falls into the water. Looking at the two people struggling in the water, the people on the shore and the bridge laughed. They were not nervous at all, but added a few more. It was so joyful that only the police who maintained order took a life buoy from the shore, threw it into the water, and asked the young man who fell into the water to swim to the shore by himself. Xiaoping'an passed through the crowd and came to the bridge, where he finally saw Cao. Ah, you're here. Cao saw Xiaoping'an squeezed out of the crowd, his eyes brightened, and he waved happily to Xiaoping'an. Xiaoping'an also squeezed to Cao's side, exhaled and smiled. Huh, I didn't expect so many people here. At this moment, Xiaoping'an, in front of Cao, has restored his original appearance, not Yang Cheng. Only when he was at Zhougong Tower and Tianyuan Qiao Night Market, he turned into Yang Cheng again. It was Yang Cheng who bought the boundary beads. It is also Yang Cheng who interprets dreams. No one would think of him. Ahem, have you noticed anything different about me? He hastily pulled up his skirt and spun around in front of Xiaoping'an. The expression on his face was just a few words, "Hurry up and praise me." Xiaopinggan said seriously, "By the way, I found a hair on your ear has a split end." He glared at Xiaopinggan carelessly, seeming a little angry, but in a blink of an eye, he smiled and said, "You can even notice a split in my hair, so you know what's going on." Xiaopinggan looked at the crowds on both sides of the pier bridge of the dragon boat team, frowned slightly, and thought, it would be great fun if the Blood Demon sect made some noise here today. However, is the Blood Demon cult really so bold? Among the crowds on both sides of the bridge and the pier, Xiaopinggan also discovered that many colleagues from the Hualong inspection office were also here. It seemed that the officials were still on guard. By the way, where did this dragon boat team come from? I don't think it comes entirely from Shangjing City. Xiaopinggan saw those dragon boat teams wearing various colorful flags, which was a little strange. Those flags included family flags, and many of the business group banners he had never seen in Shangjing. Of course those dragon boat teams come from the provinces of the Great Shang Kingdom. There are also some in the capital city, but they are mostly from the provinces. Those dragon boat races here cost almost 50,000 gold coins. Does it cost so much? Of course, this is an opportunity to show your face in the upper capital. The winning team will be rewarded with 500,000 gold coins, and will also be able to visit the imperial city and participate in the state banquet. Therefore, at this time of year, wealthy businessmen from various provinces of the Great Shang Kingdom, the nobles, actually prepare teams to compete in a dragon boat race on the Qinan River, just to show off their wealth. This dragon boat race lasts for 7 consecutive days, with hundreds of teams participating each time. It was probably the first time for Cao to watch dragon boats with so many people on the shore and on the bridge. He seemed quite excited. He chattered in front of Xiaopinggan and told Xiaopinggan the history of dragon boats in the capital. And Xiaopinggan was thinking about it. Hundreds of teams, each with an admission fee of 50,000 gold coins. After all, if they hold a dragon boat race every year, they can earn tens of millions of gold coins. This is too amazing. It's almost astonishing. The Olympics are awesome. While Xiaopinggan and Kaoko were chatting on the bridge, a slender white gorgeous cruise ship passed under the bridge. The cruise ship seemed to be here to watch the dragon boat race. There was someone on the cruise ship standing on the deck, and Xiaopinggan's eyes naturally glanced at the yacht. The people on the cruise ship seemed to be looking at the scenery on the shore and on the bridge. Then, Xiaopinggan saw Yan Duo on the white cruise ship. Yan Duo on the white cruise ship also saw Xiaopinggan. Xiaopinggan thought he was dazzled, so he rubbed his eyes and looked over again. Damn it, that bastard is Yan Duo. Even Xiaopinggan would recognize Yan Duo's temperament. Yan Duo changed his hairstyle and had short black hair, a masculine beard around his mouth, and wore a white shirt and black breeches. He unbuttoned a few buttons on his shirt to reveal his chest. Dissolute, high-spirited, like a playboy among the nobles, with a beautiful young woman wearing a palace dress and a hat with beautiful bird feathers on her right hand. The young woman is pointing at the scenery by the Qinan River, and Yan Duo said something. Of course, Yan Duo, who was accompanying the beautiful countess on the cruise ship, also thought he was dazzled. He almost simultaneously made the same move as 11 Pingan, rubbed his eyes, and looked over. Xiaopinggan's appearance on the Peach Blossom Bridge has not changed much in Yan Duo's eyes. He is wearing a black exquisite coat and a top hat. He looks like a gentleman in the capital. Look at the grass beside Xiaopinggan. Yan Duo was also dazzled by Cao's peerless beauty. Yan Duo also cursed in his stomach, damn, how come Xiaopinggan, this bastard, is surrounded by such top-level girls wherever he goes, is there any justice? Two people who came to this world from the Earth to participate in the Matching the Sky project met dramatically here. For a moment, both of them were surprised, happy and speechless. Xiaopinggan didn't jump off, and Yan Duo didn't jump up either. The two of them just looked at each other, with their eyes intersecting, as the white cruise ship gradually moved away. Yan Duo on the yacht suddenly remembered something, and made a few sign language gestures with Xiaopingan, and Xiaopingan nodded. Behind the white yacht, there is a very special cyan flag. On the cyan flag, there is a golden anchor and a green bird. Among the dragon boat teams in the distance, there is a flag of the team and the flag on the yacht. Same. Where did that white cruise ship come from? It seems that it also sent a team to participate in the dragon boat race. Xiaopingan asked Cao. He glanced at the flag on the white cruise ship and said naturally, that is the emblem of Countess Lin Qing of Bihai. Countess Lin Qing is a famous female widow and rich woman in the Great Shang Kingdom. She goes to the dragon boat race in Beijing every year. She would send teams to participate, but within a few years, the best ranking her team achieved was only 17th place. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 272. That bastard Yan Duo. Xiaopingan cursed in his stomach and breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. When he saw the blood demon sect's pursuit order against them before, Xiaopingan was really worried about Yan Duo and the others, worried that something might happen to them. But now it's fine, at least he saw that Yan Duo was fine. However, this guy Yan Duo is also considered a ghost. He actually knows how to change his look. His iconic white hair was cut into black hair and a beard was added. Unless it was someone who knew and was familiar with him before, otherwise, I really wouldn't recognize him. Coincidentally, the Countess Lin Qing next to Yan Duo and the summoner who came with Xiaopingan and the others and was hunted by the blood demon cult actually had the same name, but one was a woman and the other was a man. Xiaopingan watched the white cruise ship sail into the river near the dock where the dragon boats were parked, and was also waiting for the dragon boat race to start. Before long, a row of colorful balloons rose over the pier. As soon as the balloons took off, people on the shore and on the bridge cheered and waved their colorful silk ribbons. The dragon boats for the competition were ready, and the people on the dragon boats began to slowly beat the drums. The sound of the drums was like war drums. Slowly, it began to become denser. The sound of dong 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 vibrated the surrounding air and ignited the atmosphere of the scene. It's about to begin, it's about to begin. Kaoko clapped his hands happily, and unknowingly grabbed Xiaopingan's hand. When he felt something was wrong, Kaoko woke up in surprise and turned red all of a sudden. For some reason, Xiaopingan suddenly felt a little nervous at this time. Xiaopingan's eyes searched among the crowds on the bridge, the pier, and the river. He also used his remote viewing ability. He felt that nothing was wrong. There were too many people around and he found nothing unusual. As the drums on the dragon boat got louder and louder, the uneasy feeling in Xiaopingan's heart became stronger and stronger. I don't know if he felt Xiaopingan's uneasiness, but the god of fortune boy who was still monitoring the movements of the Huang family appeared in front of Xiaopingan almost instantly. The boy of god of fortune stood on Xiaopingan's shoulder and looked around, and then he jumped directly from Xiaopingan's shoulders, jumped into the river, stepped on the river water, and started flying on the river. No one noticed that there was a lucky boy wearing only a belly band running on the water here. After the lucky boy flew on the water for a while, he plunged into the water, turned into a fish, and quickly surged in one direction in the water. At the point where the god of fortune entered the water, Xiaopingan's sea of consciousness suddenly cut into the scene that the god of fortune saw in the water. Light and shadow swayed on the water, and the golden spots cast by the sun danced on the water. Light penetrated directly into the water, and the reflections of the dragon boats and cruise ships on the water were distorted under the water. The increasingly fierce drumming on the dragon boat sounded extremely dull in the water, and invisible sound waves were traveling in the water. The water of Chinan River is crystal clear, but because the river here is too deep, and there are a lot of aquatic plants in the river, the aquatic plants are spread on the bottom of the river dozens of meters deep, like a forest, like another world. Lucky Boy felt something unusual underwater and was moving quickly in one direction. Something is wrong. Xiaopinggan suddenly realized that the lucky boy would not go into the river suddenly. He must have discovered something in the water. Xiaopinggan looked at Yan Duo. Yan Duo was on the white cruise ship with a glass of wine in his hand. Feeling Xiaopinggan's gaze, Yan Duo also looked at Xiaopinggan. Xiaopinggan only made a gesture to Yan Duo, danger, evacuate quickly. Yan Duo's expression on the white cruise ship changed. Yan Duo knew that Xiaopinggan would not make such a joke with him. The dragon boat racing will start soon. Last year, I added several good players to my team. After this year of training, their results this year will definitely be better than last year. I am looking forward to it. The beautiful countess looked at it with a smile. He looked at the dragon boat team in the distance and pointed it out to Yan Duo. Yan Duo suddenly grabbed the countess' wrist and said in a deep voice, "Follow me." The countess's face turned red all of a sudden. She looked at Yan Duo with eyes as clear as water. She seemed to have misunderstood Yan Duo. She whispered in a slightly coy voice, "Wasn't last night enough? You also want it now? Is it going to arrive, in the cabin?" Yan Duo cursed secretly and without explaining anything, pulled the countess and quickly left the deck. The countess thought Yan Duo was going to take her to the cabin, but she found that Yan Duo took her directly off the boat quickly, and at the same time asked the captain to drive the boat away quickly. At the same time, Xiaopinggan also grabbed Cao's hand and took Cao outside the bridge without saying anything. "Ah, it's the best place to watch dragon boats, why are you leaving?" Cao looked surprised, not knowing why Xiaopinggan suddenly wanted to take it away from Dehua Bridge. "Don't look at the dragon boat today, you have to leave immediately." "Why?" "I don't know, something is wrong anyway." After a cursory glance at Xiaopinggan's face, he found that Xiaopinggan's eyes were deep and his face was serious. He didn't seem to be joking, so he didn't ask any more questions. Xiaopinggan hurried through the crowd with hasty steps, quickly crossed the Peach Blossom Bridge, let go of his hand, took out his inspector's token, and said directly to himself in the air next to him, "Take Cao away immediately." Cao was stunned. At the same time, two women in their 30s wearing black suddenly appeared next to Cao. The two women looked at Xiaopinggan with serious faces, then looked at Cao, and directly grabbed Cao's hand, "Follow me, please." He looked at Xiaopinggan carelessly and asked, "Where are you?" "You go first, I can't leave yet." Xiaopinggan smiled at Cao, said nothing more, and immediately ran towards the summoner from the Hualong inspection office nearest to him. The summoner was in his 30s, wearing iron gloves. He stood on the periphery of the crowd, watching the surroundings with coldness and vigilance. Seeing Xiaopinggan running directly towards him, the summoner's eyes suddenly fell on Xiaopinggan's face, showing a wary look. As soon as Xiaopinggan ran over, he took out his inspector token. Seeing the inspector's token that Xiaopinggan took out, the summoner from the Hualong inspectorate changed his face and saluted quickly, "I've met you, sir. The inspection office is a system within the Judgment Army. Xiaopinggan's identity is placed here. The summoner of the inspection office in any district in the capital city will call him sir when they see him. I am Xiaopinggan, the inspector of the Donggang inspection office. I found that something is wrong here. Please notify your superiors immediately and ask the people here to evacuate immediately." Donggang Inspector Xiaopinggan, this name has become famous among all the inspectors' offices in the upper capital since Xiaopinggan broke into the Huang mansion to arrest people a few days ago and went all the way to the Donggang inspectorate. The dragon boat race is being held here today, so many people have to evacuate. The summoner said with a troubled face. "I will be responsible if something goes wrong with the evacuation, and you will be responsible if something goes wrong if you don't evacuate." After hearing what Xiaopinggan said, the summoner's expression changed and he quickly went to inform someone. At this moment, the lucky boy had swam 2 kilometers downstream from the pier. In the bottom of the river where the water plants swayed, and under a dense cover of water plants, there was a big black fish that was also more than 1 meter long hidden at the bottom of the river. There are many corpses and bones in the Xuanhuan River, and no one eats the fish in the river, so it is not uncommon for such a big fish to grow in the river. The God of Fortune boy saw more than one such fish along the way. When he saw the fish, the lucky boy stopped moving. After circling the big black fish twice, he sat on the fish. Xiaopingan felt strange, thinking that the God of Fortune boy was looking for this big black fish to ride on, but the next second, Xiaopingan knew that he was wrong. The big black fish didn't notice the lucky boy riding on him. After a few seconds, the body of the big black fish at the bottom of the river began to twist like rubber, and slowly turned into a human shape. The humanoid object was under the water, wearing a weird golden ghost mask on its face and a black robe, but its body seemed to be made entirely of water, just like a person made of water, which made people shudder. There are so many people. It looks like we can kill them all today. The water in the Xuanhuan River in the upper capital should be red, which is interesting. Xiaopingan heard the gloomy and sinister laughter of the humanoid object in the water. After turning into a human form, the God of Fortune boy was still riding on the man's neck, without the man noticing. Then, Xiaopingan saw that the man's hand moved, and a large handful of black, sesame-like sand-like things suddenly appeared on his rippled hand. The black sand was floating in the river, absorbing water crazily. Each grain of sand expanded rapidly when it encountered water. In the blink of an eye, the grains of sand turned into seeds and became the egg-shaped object continues to expand, continue to grow, continue to change and grow in the water, and in a moment it turns into thousands of big eggs. The big eggs are each over 1 meter tall, with hard, pitch-black bodies covered with spikes all over their bodies. In the blink of an eye, the big eggs moved and began to stretch their bodies. Each of the big eggs suddenly turned into a bird that was only over 2 meters tall, covered with dark hard armor and with long pincers. It has hands, reptile-like feet, 4 blood-red eyes on its head, and a monster-like black tail with barbs. This is a water monster. There were tens of thousands of water demons lying silently in the water, like an army. The transparent man laughed ferociously, pointed in the direction of Peach Blossom Bridge, and uttered a low syllable, "Go and kill, let the blood stain the river red, let the corpses float all over the river, let those ignorant people, foolish people know the consequences of opposing the blood demon cult. The army of water monsters is swimming under the water faster than fish, rushing towards the Peach Blossom Bridge." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 273. As soon as the water demon army moved in the river, the man wearing the golden grimace mask twisted his body at the bottom of the lake. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a big black fish again and swam quickly towards the lower reaches of the Xuanhuan River, while the God of Fortune boy just followed him, riding on the big fish that the man transformed into, and the man didn't notice it at all. The water monster moves too fast in the river. It's a distance of 2 kilometers, and it looks like it can be reached in about 3 or 4 minutes. On the Peach Blossom Bridge, the crowds on both sides of the pier were in some commotion. Xiaopingan's warning had an effect. The police who maintained order here and the summoners from the supervision office had begun to evacuate the crowd. But the crowd was unwilling to leave, not knowing the danger was coming. Some people even quarreled with the police who were maintaining order. Over at the pier, a large piece of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple smoke was released from a row of salutes. The dragon boat teams beating drums and shouting had already rowed out of the pier and began to move quickly on the river. The cheers were deafening. Seeing that the dragon boat team had begun to slide, the onlookers were even more reluctant to leave. The evacuation of the police and the inspectorate caused a small commotion. Holy shit! That's too late. We can only use some extraordinary measures. Xiaopinggan gritted his teeth and stamped his feet, and could only yell in a different voice, "The blood demon cult, the blood demon cult has spread corpse poison, everyone, run away." Xiaopinggan's voice was very loud. When he roared out, Xiaopinggan took out a pistol and fired 3 shots directly into the sky. In the sound of gunfire, he had already performed the illusion of playing the princes with beacon fire. Among the crowds on both sides of the Peach Blossom Bridge and the pier, in the blink of an eye, many people infected with the corpse poison appeared. With eyes closed, he grabbed the people around him and started to eat them crazily. For a moment, blood splattered in the crowd, and brains flew away. Those infected with corpse poison in the illusion were like wild beasts, and they began to bite the people around them alive, breaking their necks, sucking blood, and biting off their hands. Swallowing eyeballs and eating brains, cutting out hearts and livers, cutting open stomachs and eating intestines, all kinds of bloody and disgusting scenes happened at once. Blood demon cult, corpse poison. Run quickly, there is corpse poison. The blood demon cult killed people. The blood demon cult has released corpse poison. The crowds on both sides of Dehua Bridge and the pier were stunned and frightened. Countless people screamed and started to turn around and run away. They were unwilling to leave no matter how hard they tried to persuade them to leave. They still wanted to stay and watch the lively crowd. At this time, I only regret that my parents gave me 2 fewer legs. The people gathered around the pier, on the riverside and on the Peach Blossom Bridge began to scatter in fear and ran towards the distance. The whole scene was completely chaotic. Not to mention those people on the shore, even the dragon boat team members in the river and the people watching the excitement on the cruise ship all began to flee after seeing the commotion on the shore, and the cruise ships began to increase their capacity. After Molly left the place where things were going wrong, those rowing on the dragon boat saw that people infected with corpse poison on the Peach Blossom Bridge in front of them jumped off the bridge and swam toward them like dumplings, and they suddenly burst out into excitement. With the firepower, they desperately slid the dragon boat to the shore and ran away. The dragon boat race is not as important as one's own life. In the chaos, Xiaopinggan threw a fireball into the air and exploded, shouting loudly, "Everyone, quickly leave the river, leave the pier and the bridge, and run to a safe place in the city. The blood demon cult is coming, run, run quickly." The fireball roaring and exploding in the air was even more convincing. Xiaopinggan's beacon fire plays on the prince's illusion can scare ordinary people, but it cannot scare the summoners of the Hualong District Inspection Office who are on duty here. As soon as a few ice picks and fireballs were thrown, the hateful-looking people infected with corpse poison disappeared like bursting bubbles. Those in the Hualong District Inspection Office immediately knew that this was an illusion. Seeing this scene again, Xiaopinggan was the only one shouting that people from the blood demon cult were coming, and throwing fireballs to create chaos and scare the onlookers into fleeing. The Hualong District Inspector became angry. The Hualong District Inspection Office will be blamed for the huge mess caused by this dragon boat race. It's just that in this kind of public place, the panicked and fleeing crowd is like a herd of wild buffaloes. Once a commotion occurs, they can never stop. All they think about is the word escape. Even those who looked back saw panicked faces. They couldn't tell what was going on. They could only run away and couldn't stop even if they wanted to. Run, run. Seeing a group of people running slowly in the distance, Xiaopinggan shouted, and then threw a fireball and exploded on the heads of the group of people. The crowd screamed and ran away in panic. The shoes fell to the floor. "What are you doing?" There was an angry scolding in his ear, and a blue figure flashed in front of his eyes. Xiaopinggan felt an ice pick flying towards him. He stopped suddenly and retreated several meters in an instant. The ice cone didn't shoot at Xiaopinggan, it just shot at the ground at Xiaopinggan's feet, disrupting Xiaopinggan's rhythm. As soon as Xiaopingan stopped, he saw a woman in a blue dress standing in front of him, looking at him angrily. The woman was very tall, almost the tallest woman Xiaopingan had ever seen. Xiaopingan was not short, but the woman was a head taller than Xiaopingan, almost 2 meters tall. Although the woman is tall, her facial features are very delicate, with fair skin, a face like peach cheeks, almond eyes, and a high nose. She is very beautiful. She is still a beauty, but her plump and tall figure can even be said to be strong. Her long legs are simply invincible. Everything is 2 sizes larger than other women. The undulating lines between her hips and waist, her huge hip bones and buttocks, and her plump upper body, even when wearing a skirt, she looks very exaggerated. Xiaopingan, don't think that just because you are the inspector of Donggang, you can do whatever you want here. Others are afraid of you, but I, Malanwei, are not afraid. This is my territory in Hualong district. Today you messed up the dragon boat competition. You want to give me an explanation. The woman stared at Xiaopingan with cold eyes. Malanwei. Xiaopingan has heard of this name. She is the inspector of Hualong district. She is a woman on the same level as him. This is the first time Xiaopingan has seen a real person. He did not expect that Mulanwei's image is so exaggerated and she is so tall. Tall, with such a figure, oh my god. Xiaopingan's eyes swept across Malanwei's face, and then naturally went down. When he reached the area below Malanwei's neck, he was stuck and couldn't help but pause for a moment. Have you seen enough? Anger flashed across Malanwei's face, and a fireball hit Xiaopingan's head. This woman also has a hot temper, just like Huazikan. Xiaopingan waved his hand, and the fireball shot by Malanwei was pulled by a force and blasted towards the sky. Another group of flames exploded at a height of 100 meters, adding more firepower to those who were escaping here quickly. A little light and shadow effect. Sure enough, there were 2 moments. No wonder you are so arrogant. Inspector Mu, let's save some of our spiritual power to deal with what's coming next. Xiaopingan didn't bother to explain anything. In just a short while, he saw that all the people who were watching the excitement ran away at least 100 meters. Outside, the fast one had already run 200 to 300 meters away from the riverside pier and Peach Blossom Bridge. Xiaopingan jumped directly towards the Chinan River. Do you want to run away after causing such a big mess? Malanwei jumped up and directly chased Xiaopingan towards the Chinan River. Xiaopingan leapt down from the Peach Blossom Bridge, stretched out his hand and pointed in the river, and suddenly a floating ice soldier as big as a table formed on the water. Xiaopingan landed steadily on the ice floe. Malanwei leaped from the air and tapped her feet on the water. A piece of ice also appeared on the water. She landed firmly on the ice and stared at Xiaopingan. Malanwei noticed that Xiaopingan had a solemn expression, looking at the wide river. A huge Xuanhuan was slowly being summoned by Xiaopingan, crawling out of the black mist, ready to go. Xiaopingan didn't look like he was joking. Malanwei looked at the turbulent river water and felt something was wrong. Because right at Mulanwei's feet, she found a large number of river fish escaping crazily in the river, rushing towards the upper reaches of the Chinan River. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 274. There are things in the Chinan River, rushing towards here from the lower reaches, and there are so many of them that they scare the fish into running away. Just taking a look at the shoal of fish escaping crazily in the river below her feet, Malanwei immediately made a judgment in her heart. This made Malanwei's heart tighten for a moment, and she finally knew that Xiaopingan was not joking with her. Call the headquarters of the Judgment Army. We can't handle this. Xiaopingan took a long breath, staring at the rolling river in front of him, and said to Malanwei. No matter what the woman's attitude was towards him just now, at this time, the 2 parties were comrades in arms, and Xiaopingan didn't bother to care about the woman's attitude just now. Malanwei glanced at Xiaopingan and stopped talking nonsense. With a move of her hand, she took out a salute gun from the space equipment, lit it, and flicked it. The salute gun flew into the air and exploded with a bang, hundreds of meters away. A shield-like red firework forms high in the sky and lasts for a long time. Even in broad daylight, it can be seen for dozens of kilometers. How did you know there was something in the water? What was that thing? After sending out the signal, MaleProtagonist asked Xiaopingyan a question. I was the first to notice that something was wrong with the fish in the water. They were running up, which means there are a lot of things in the water rushing towards here. Xiaopingyan said casually. Of course, he could not tell the story of the god of fortune, even if it was its best not to talk about the power of the sky eye. Today there is a dragon boat race here, and there are many people coming. If the blood demon sect does something, the loss will be too great, so just now, in desperation, I had to use some means. Please forgive me, Inspector Mew. I just attacked you without asking any questions, so let's consider it even. MaleProtagonist also said cheerfully. At this moment, the river water hundreds of meters away in front of the two people began to boil, and countless water droplets began to jump on the water. The river water seemed to be boiling. The boiling water droplets rolled in from a distance, shining in the sunlight. Under the water, you can vaguely see the dense black objects under the water. Then, in the next second, the ferocious bodies of 700 water monsters emerged from the water. Xiaopingyan pointed at the water monsters, and Xuanhuan, who had been preparing to go, flew out from behind Xiaopingyan and submerged into the river. The rolling surface of the Qinan River immediately froze, and the 2-meter thick ice the layer stretched out from Xiaopingyan's feet, and instantly froze a section of the river more than 500 meters long. The hundreds of water monsters that had just jumped out of the water were frozen into ice sculptures on the ice layer, and were instantly lost. Breath of life. But there are too many water monsters. The first batch of water monsters in the vanguard had just been frozen, and the water monsters behind them rushed forward and jumped out of the water. Some stepped on the ice on the river, and some climbed up the river embankment, making strange roars from their mouths. Rushing towards the place where there are people. Water monster. Someone on the shore finally saw clearly what the thing emerging from the water was and started shouting. Bang 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 bang. The policemen who were maintaining order here took their guns and started shooting at the water monsters jumping up from the river. The spectators who had already ran hundreds of meters away looked back and saw that they were running away from the river. The monsters that came out screamed and ran away desperately. If the people on the shore hadn't been evacuated by Xiaopingyan 2 minutes earlier, then this moment would have been the beginning of the water demon killings. Rows of fireballs and ice picks flew out from the shore and bombarded the water monsters. The summoners from the Hualong District Inspection Office had already begun to take action. A large number of soldiers and warriors were summoned to intercept the water monsters. A fierce battle broke out on both sides of the Peach Blossom Bridge. Kill! Xiaopingyan roared, stepping on the frozen river, and rushed towards the water monsters. He waved his hand, and a total of 300 elite slave soldiers appeared in front of him. The elite slave soldiers took out with the throwing spear on his back. He rushed towards the charging water monsters. The elite slave soldiers summoned by Xiaopingyan of the Four Yang realm have long been completely different from the elite slave soldiers he summoned before. The basic attributes have undergone huge changes. The 300 elite slave soldiers are extremely powerful and can be thrown on their backs. The throwing spear is fast, accurate, and ruthless. A single throwing spear can penetrate the body of an oncoming water demon on the ice. After the elite slave soldiers, Xiaopingyan gritted his teeth and waved again. The door of a vague military camp suddenly appeared behind him. The sound of roaring iron hoofs sounded behind him, and 100 storm cavalry leapt from the military camp. When it came out, the arrows flew out like locusts, whizzing, 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 killing the water monsters jumping on the ice. 100 storm cavalry consumes 1,800 divine power, and 300 elite slave soldiers consume 1,200 divine power. With this, a full 3,000 points of divine power are thrown into it. After Xiaopingan advanced to the Four Yang realm, the divine power consumed to summon an elite slave soldier was suddenly reduced to 4 points each. If not for this, 300 elite slave soldiers could almost empty out a summoner. Xiaopingan, it's really hard to summon. The combat power of elite-level storm cavalry and elite slave soldiers is very terrifying, and it is almost instantaneous. Especially the storm cavalry, with its iron hooves crisscrossing the ice, is invincible when facing the water monster. 100 storm cavalry lined up like iron plows on the ice. Amidst the roaring of iron hooves, they had the momentum of thousands of horses rushing towards the water monsters. The innate skill of riding and shooting allowed the storm cavalry to rush towards them. Those water monsters had already set up their bows and arrows to shoot the water monsters that rushed towards them on the ice. In addition to mounted shooting, the strongest skill of the storm cavalry is death assault. As soon as the death assault begins, all the storm cavalry's bodies glow with a layer of red light. In the red light, the lances on the storm cavalry are like the blood-colored lightning, can easily penetrate and smash each water demon into pieces during an assault. When there were approaching water monsters, the mounts of the storm cavalry would use their trample skills, kicking the water monsters until their carapace was shattered, and they would vomit blood and fly away. The first thing that dyed the Chenan River red was not human blood, but the blood of the water monsters. The more than 500 meters of ice that froze the river became a battlefield. More and more water monsters jumped up from the river and joined the battle here. They were pierced by the spears of the elite slave soldiers and crushed by the storm cavalry. In addition to Xiaopingan, MaleProtagonist also summoned her own soldiers. A total of 200 slave soldiers with spears were summoned by her. They lined up and guarded the shore with their spears. After the slave soldiers, MaleProtagonist summoned 10 tigers and 100 archers to join the battle. MaleProtagonist is definitely not a brainless person when she can become the inspector of District 1. The slave soldiers and archers she summoned are not fighting those water monsters on the ice like Xiaopingan, but on the shore. On the river, in cooperation with other summoners from the Hualong Inspectorate, they were suppressing the water monsters that came ashore, trying their best to prevent the water monsters in the river from rushing to the shore. Before the support of the Judgment Army arrives, try to push the water monster into the river and prevent it from washing ashore and causing more damage. This is the wisest tactic. The woman's weapon was a sharp axe as wide as the door panel. The woman swung the axe in her hand and rushed into the group of water monsters. The big axe in her hand flew like a whirlwind, leaving behind a lot of water monsters. The broken arms and limbs of the earth. Too violent. But there are too many water monsters, and the Chenan River's shoreline is very long. Xiaopingan, MaleProtagonist, and her 20 or 30 summoners cannot completely control the long embankment. The water monster that came ashore in front was suppressed and could not rush up. The water monster behind could immediately rush to the river embankment from other places and start destroying, chasing, and killing. Summoners defending the river embankment will become weak if the defense line is lengthened, making it difficult to completely resist the water demon. If they do not lengthen the defense line, they can only watch the water demon rush ashore. In this case, casualties are inevitable. The policemen who had been maintaining order and some people who were running slowly were immediately rushed in front of them by the water demon. Ordinary bullets are almost useless when hitting the water demon. Once the water demon's 2 large pincers and the tail behind it rush to a person, the large pincers can pinch the person into 2 pieces. The spikes on the tail behind it are like spears, which can cut the person into 2 pieces. The human body is penetrated. Those running behind were screaming and wailing as they were overtaken by the water demon and killed by the water demon in the blink of an eye. Xiaopingan took out the ruling scepter, summoned a 1,000-mile horse, and rode on the 1,000-mile horse across the ice. The ruling scepter was swung out, and because of its special magic effect, the water demons who rushed in front of him were shattered like porcelain dolls when they touched it. The blood of the water demon almost dyed Xiaopingan's whole body red. The water monster is not Xiaopingan's opponent, but the problem is that there are too many water monsters, as if they are endless. One of the water monsters on the ice has just been killed, and the two water monsters behind them jumped up and continued. The killing is overwhelming. Soon, the spears of the elite slave soldiers summoned by Xiaopingan were exhausted. As soon as the water demons came into contact with the elite slave soldiers holding Chang'e, the two sides were evenly matched, and the elite slave soldiers summoned by Xiaopingan suffered casualties. As for those elite-level storm cavalry, they have stronger vitality. Even if they are surrounded by water monsters and injured, the elite-level storm cavalry's talent light of life can allow them to recover from their injuries in battle and have more power. Strong continuous combat capability. However, once the storm cavalry is surrounded by too many water monsters, it will also quickly exhaust its life and disappear. Unknowingly, the huge piece of ice on the river that Xiaopingan was guarding became the main battlefield of Peach Blossom Bridge. The originally snow-white ice floe gradually became red with the blood of the water demon during the battle between the two sides. Oh shit! Seeing that there were too many water monsters, the defense line on the shore was collapsing and shrinking little by little. Xiaopingan also took the risk. He swallowed a few divine power pills, and the divine power in the secret mandala quickly increased by 2,000 points, and he summoned 100 storms again. The cavalry entered the battlefield. As for himself, Xiaopingan couldn't even remember how many water monsters he had killed. Fortunately, the first batch of support from the Judgment Army has finally arrived. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 275. Xiaopingan pointed towards the river, and a stream of river water flew out of the Qinan River, turning into a white stream in the air. After turning a corner in the air, it splashed down on Xiaopingan's head. The clear river water finally washed away some of the thick plasma on Xiaopingan's body, hair, and face. He killed too many water monsters, and by the time the final battle was over, Xiaopingan had turned into a bloody man, which looked a bit scary. The Judgment Army was already cleaning the battlefield, and Xiaopingan could finally find time to clean himself up. The battle that just passed did not pose any danger to Xiaopingan personally. Those water monsters could not threaten him, but his divine power was consumed a bit too much. The plasma washed down from his body, like blood, flowed on the ice and spread quickly. It was all red. The broken and scattered corpses of the water monster on the ice were scattered everywhere. There were 3,000 to 4,000 of them. The white ice surface has turned into a blood-red drawing board. Summer has entered the capital city, and the huge ice on the Qinan River is gradually melting. If the bodies of the water monsters are not disposed of properly, it may cause an epidemic. The soldiers of the Judgment Army who were cleaning up the body of the water demon on the ice all looked at Xiaopingan with strange eyes, which seemed to be in awe and surprise. Wow! Another large stream of water fell from the sky, and Xiaopingan finally felt refreshed. Looking at the corpses of the water monsters, Xiaopingan suddenly slapped his forehead. He had been fighting just now and almost forgot that he should get some of the corpses of the water monsters and bring them to the secret mandala to see what kind of elixir he could refine. When the medicine comes, the alchemy room in his secret mandala has been resting for a long time. The alchemists he summoned are now carrying medicine baskets one by one into the black mist of the secret mandala, seeming to collect it. Medicine, I haven't seen you back for 10.5 months. Looking at the mountains of corpses, Xiaopingan thought about it and shook his head secretly. He would wait until next time. He was already eye-catching enough now. It wouldn't be much if he exposed the secret mandala's spatial warehouse and the alchemist's abilities. If necessary, just hide your clumsiness. With this thought in his mind, Xiaopingan pointed at the river, and another stream of white water flew into the sky, raining down from Xiaopingan's head. Sir, This time the water monster raided Dahua Bridge. A total of 271 people were killed or injured on the shore, 35 police officers died, and 17 summoners from the Hualong District Inspection Office were injured, but their lives were not in danger. Some nearby buildings and boats in the river were also damaged. The amount of damage was about 2,000 gold coins. After our preliminary count, we found that there were about 10,800 corpses of water monsters. According to inspection, those water monsters were all formed from water monster eggs that encountered water. Catalyzed. Just next to the Dahua Bridge, the Commander-in-Chief of the Judgment Army Lin Yi and several leaders of the Judgment Army have arrived at the scene. The entire Dahua Bridge area has now been completely blocked by the Judgment Army. There are 500 people from the Judgment Army who came here to support. After the support of the Judgment Army arrived, the water demon was quickly eliminated. Tens of thousands of water monsters raided the capital. This was a very serious incident, so Lin Yi had to come to the scene to check the situation in person. Ji Yi was not in Shangjing City before. When he heard that a large number of water monsters were raiding Peach Blossom Bridge, Ji Yi's whole body became cold when he heard the news. Ji Yi knew that there was a dragon boat race at Peach Blossom Bridge today, so he was here to watch the excitement. It is estimated that there are about 100,000 people in Beijing. A large number of water monsters rushed into the 100,000 onlookers. Lin Yi could hardly imagine what it would be like. Ji Yi rushed over quickly. The situation here was beyond his expectation. What he saw were the corpses of a large number of water monsters. Although there were also casualties of people and people who went to the capital, these casualties were far greater than what Ji Yi had imagined. The sight of people in the middle and upper capitals being strewn with corpses and bleeding everywhere is really not a good thing. This is a blessing among misfortunes. Tens of thousands of water monsters pounced from the water on such a lively occasion. Under normal circumstances, at least 300,000 to 40,000 people would be killed and injured here, which would cause a major event that shocked the entire Great Shang Kingdom. But in the end, only more than 300 people were killed and injured here. The losses were reduced a lot, and the result was also under the control of the Judgment Army. There is a dragon boat race here today. It is very lively. Tens of thousands of water demons attacked. Why are there not many casualties? Lin Yi asked. It seems a bit unreasonable to ask this, but the fact is the fact. I am lucky to be lucky, but as the ruling army, Commander-in-Chief, Lin Yi must figure out what is going on here, and every detail must be clear. I heard that before the water monster attacked, the Hualong District Supervision Office stationed here had warned people to evacuate. When the water monster came ashore, there were almost no people on the shore. Those dead and injured people were closest to the river. 200 steps away, he was attacked and killed by a water demon that broke through the blockade. The Hualong District Inspection Office defended it well here and requested support in time, so it didn't cause a catastrophe. The inspector of Hualong District, I remember it is Mu Lanwei. Lin Yi asked, his face softening slightly. Yes, it's MaleProtagonist. MaleProtagonist is here today to take charge. Let MaleProtagonist come over. Yes. A moment later, MaleProtagonist, who was also covered in blood, was already standing in front of Ji Yi, saluting Ji Yi and several bosses of the Judgment Army around her. Seeing the blood all over MaleProtagonist's body, Lin Yi nodded. Today there was a sudden change in Peach Blossom Bridge. The Hualong Inspection Office handled it promptly and appropriately. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your compliments, Commander-in-Chief. This is only MaleProtagonist's responsibility. The Hualong Inspection Office did not fully protect the people living here, and many civilian police officers died under the attack of the water demon. Please punish me. Mu Lanwei said, lowering her head and looking a little sad. You have done a very good job. Everyone in the Hualong Inspection Office has made merits and demerits today. There is no need to be too demanding. The accounts of those people who were killed and injured should be attributed to the blood demon section. Without you, the people who were killed and injured would still be there. More, Lin Yi encouraged Malanwei a few words. By the way, I heard that you discovered that the water monster was coming in advance and evacuated the people in advance, so it didn't cause a big disaster. How did you find out that the water monster was coming? Malanwei glanced at the river in the distance and saw Xiaopingyan taking a refreshing bath on the ice. She said directly, I don't dare to deceive the commander. We were the first to detect the incoming water monster and reminded us to evacuate in time. The people here are Xiaopingyan, the inspector of Donggang. If Mr. Xia hadn't happened to be here to remind you in time, and then opened a battlefield in the river to block the main force of the water demon, the consequences today would be unimaginable. Xiaopingyan? This name was very familiar to several big bosses of the Judgment Army present. A few days ago, Xiaopingyan went to Wang's mansion to arrest people, which stirred up the entire Shangjing city. They didn't expect him to be here again today. Lin Yi squinted at Xiaopingyan, who was flushing on the river in the distance, and directly ordered, let Xiaopingyan come over. After a while, Xiaopingyan, who was still dripping with water from his hair and eyebrows, came here. Inspector of Donggang, Xiaopingyan, has met all of you. A group of people's eyes were focused on Xiaopingyan's face. But when Lin Yi saw Xiaopingyan approaching, his long eyebrows moved slightly, and a light flashed in his eyes. Xiaopingyan's aura at this time was slightly different from when he was at Pingshan camp a few days ago. Although Xiaopingyan was trying his best to restrain himself, what kind of person was Ji Panyi? As soon as Xiaopingyan approached, Lin Yi immediately felt that Xiaopingyan had advanced to the Four-Yang realm. Could it be His Royal Highness the Crown Prince? Lin Yi was a little shocked, but he knew that Xiaopingyan was supported by the Crown Prince, so he remained calm. With His Highness the Crown Prince's strength, it is not difficult to push a summoner from the Three-Yang realm to the Four-Yang realm in a short period of time with a bunch of world beads and corresponding divine sense crystals. This matter is somewhat sensitive and involves many things. It is not convenient to ask or talk about it. It seems that His Royal Highness the Crown Prince values Xiaopingyan very much. Lin Yi figured it out on his own, which saved Xiaopingyan a lot of trouble. How did you find out in advance that those water monsters would attack here today? Ji Yi only asked Xiaopingyan this question. Master Qi, I got clues before and came here to track down the people from the Fire Dragon gang who intercepted me on the road a few days ago. But after I came here, I didn't find anyone from the Fire Dragon gang. Instead, I found something abnormal about the fish in the Qinan River. Before the dragon boat race started, a large number of fish suddenly fled from the downstream to the upstream. According to common sense, there must be a lot of things in the water approaching here. The fish were frightened and fled upstream. I didn't know that the person approaching here was a water monster, so I could only send an early warning to Hualong Inspector Mu to take precautions. Fortunately, Mu handled it promptly and properly, so it didn't cause a big disaster. Without blinking an eyelid, Xiaopingyan came up with a bunch of flawless and irrefutable reasons. He is the inspector, and today is his working time. Of course, he can't say in front of the big bosses of the Judgment Army that he went out to watch the dragon boat race with a woman during working hours. Isn't that looking for criticism? Not to mention the matter of the lucky boy. So, that's all I can say. When she heard that Xiaopingyan was praising herself without mentioning the little friction before, Malanwei's eyes flashed and she glanced at Xiaopingyan again. Did you summon those storm cavalry on the ice? The person who asked Xiaopingyan this was Fang Piyu, the leader of the Judgment Army and the Divine Guard, who was standing next to Ji Yi. The ones who came here to help today were the summoners of the Judgment Army's War God Guards. The War God Guards were one of the main forces that the Judgment Army put in place to guard the upper capital. Fang Piyu is in his 50s, with a purple face and thick eyebrows. He is calm and self-confident. He is one of the several big bosses and top figures in the Judgment Army. With a little skill, I took a bunch of pills to summon it, but Master Fang laughed, Xiaopingan said modestly. Fang Pu looked at Xiaopingan, his eyes sparkling, and he looked very interested, and asked directly, "Are you interested in coming to fight the Divine Guard? Come and fight the Divine Guard, and I will make you the Commander-in-Chief." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 276. As soon as Fang Pu opened his mouth, the atmosphere at the scene became a little awkward, because Xiaopingan's nominal direct boss was standing nearby. "Master Fang, what do you mean?" Upon hearing what Fang Pu said, an old man with a white beard standing on the other side of Ji Yi who looked taciturn and didn't talk much said coldly, "Master Fang poached us. The inspection guard is here, do you think there is no one in our inspection guard?" This old man is Zhang Tianj, the commander of the inspection guard of the Judgment Army. Many inspection offices in Shangjing City are nominally led by the inspection guards of the Judgment Army. Zhang Tianj is also the direct supervisor of all the inspectors. However, in fact, the inspection guards rarely interfere with the affairs of the inspection offices. This is also because for some complicated reasons, although the inspectorate guard seems to have a lot of power, its actual power is not that great, and its status in the Judgment Army is not high. Even the specific candidates for the inspectorate of each inspection office in the capital, the supervisory guard could not decide, and it eventually turned into a compromise between various forces inside and outside the Judgment Army. Fang Pu was able to recruit people in front of Zhang Tianj, the commander of the supervisory guard, which is enough to illustrate the status of the supervisory guard in the Judgment Army. Xiaopingan had never met Zhang Tianj before he took up the post in the supervision office. Later, he was taken away by the Department of Legal Supervision. When he arrived at Pingshan camp, he still had not seen his nominal boss. The presence of the supervisory guard in the Judgment Army is really very important. Lo. If it hadn't been for today's incident, Xiaopingan would have never seen what his immediate boss looked like. Ha ha ha, Mr. Zhang, don't be angry. There are many talented people in the supervisory guard, all of whom are working for the Judgment Army. Why are you poaching? I think the storm cavalry he summoned is more suitable for fighting on the battlefield, and it can be better used in our war god guard. It's just the director, Fang Pu explained with a smile. Humph. Zhang Tianj snorted coldly, but said no more. Don't mention this matter again. Xiaopingan has just arrived at the Donggang inspection office a few days ago. It's not appropriate to change positions frequently. Lin Yi spoke calmly and glanced at Fang Pu, but Fang Pu stopped talking. Ahem, may I ask, sir, I remember that there is a demon blocking net at the mouth of the Qinan River, and there are masters from the Judgment Army stationed there. I don't know where those water monsters came from. Is there a loophole in the monster blocking net? Ping An opened his mouth and diverted everyone's attention with a question. Everything is normal at the demon net at the mouth of the Qinan River. Those water demons were catalyzed by the demons of the blood demon cult releasing the eggs of the water demons in the water. Lin Yi said, you are the inspector. In some cases, I know that since the last time I went to the capital to annihilate the remnants of the blood demon sect, the blood demon sect sent the 5 demons of the blood demon sect to the capital in order to retaliate. The one who can have such ability in water should be the water demon among the 5 demons. Demon Qiao Dahai. Water demon Qiao Dahai, this name is completely unfamiliar to Xiaopingan. Yes, it is said that the water demon Qiao Dahai can change endlessly in the water, is proficient in the art of transformation in water, likes to raise water demons, and also likes to kill people in the water. As long as there is water, he can be invincible. He is very difficult to deal with, and the Judgment Army is still trying its best to find traces of him. I didn't expect him to show up here today. Donggang district is near the sea. You should pay more attention recently, Lin Yi explained. Yes, Xiaopinggan lowered his head and his eyes moved. If that person is the water demon Xiao Dehai, then from now on, Xiaopinggan has locked onto that person's traces. Xiaopinggan wanted to see if he could use the water demon to locate the traces of the other 5 demons. The reason why the 5 demons are a headache for the Judgment Army is not because of how powerful they are, but because they are well hidden and have weird and destructive techniques. If their whereabouts are exposed and they are targeted by the Judgment Army, they will definitely die. This is like anti-terrorism. It's like the troops discovering a den of thieves. The difficulty lies in discovering it, not destroying it. Lin Yi and other big bosses of the Judgment Army did not stay in Dehua Bridge for long. After understanding the situation here, those big guys left. The rest of the affairs of Dehua Bridge were naturally handled by other members of the Judgment Army. You guys have more important things. But no matter what happened at Dehua Bridge today is bound to shock the entire upper capital. The dragon boat race in Shangjing was interrupted and hundreds of people died. This is no small matter. When Ji Yi left, his brows were slightly furrowed and there was murderous intent in his eyes. This matter was probably not over yet. I will remember this favor today. If you need our help in the future, please let me know. After the big bosses left, Malanwei said a rare soft word to Xiaopinggan. If there was no Xiaopinggan today, and those water monsters were allowed to come ashore to slaughter and cause heavy casualties, the Hualong Inspectorate would be blamed for this huge responsibility. How could they still make meritorious deeds like they are now? Thinking of the consequences, Mulan Wei shuddered, and Malanwei was truly grateful to Xiaopinggan. You and my colleagues, there is no need to be polite, Xiaopinggan smiled. He was somewhat impressed by the female inspector today. Compared with Yao Yushang, this bloody and heroic Mulan Wei is definitely a qualified inspector. Check the envoy. On the ice in the river, almost all the elite slave soldiers summoned by Xiaopinggan were dead. Now only more than 100 storm cavalry were still standing on the ice, waiting for Xiaopinggan's order. Looking at the storm cavalry that had made great achievements today, Xiaopinggan sighed. Although it was a pity, with a wave of his hand, those storm cavalry turned into light and disappeared. The time for the storm cavalry to descend to the plain after being summoned is 720 minutes, which is 12 hours. From the beginning to now, those storm cavalry have only fought for about an hour. But after the battle, the remaining time for the storm cavalry to descend was useless, and Xiaopinggan couldn't take them around, so he had no choice but to let them dissipate. Damn it, it's all divine power and money. Xiaopinggan had just let the storm cavalry dissipate when he saw Malanwei wave her hand and a black mist appeared in front of her. The remaining archers she had just summoned lined up one by one and entered the black mist. Holy shit, what's going on? Xiaopinggan was stunned. Xiaopinggan blinked and asked Malanwei, why didn't the archers you summoned dissipate? I once fused a Mingjin world bead. After merging the Mingjin world bead, the summoned characters can regain the secret mandala before the time for the arrival of the plane runs out. Archers can be summoned and used cumulatively. Like you, it would be such a waste to dissipate directly like that. Named the Golden World Pearl, Xiaopinggan looked confused. Don't you know? Malanwei asked. Xiaopinggan was speechless. He really didn't know about the existence of the Mingjin World Pearl, and he could actually take the summoned characters back to the secret mandala. Xiaopinggan had always thought that the summoned characters couldn't be used again once they came out. Either die in battle, or have to wait for the plane to dissipate after the time has elapsed. It seems that everyone was like this when they were on Earth. Xiaopinggan had never heard of the existence of the Golden World Pearl. After working on it for a long time, it turned out that I was a country bumpkin. This is also the sequelae caused by the Skycrosser advancing too quickly in this world. There are many abilities possessed by the world beads that the Skycrosser does not know about. It's not surprising if you don't know. The Mingjin world bead is one of the rarest types of world beads. Most summoners may not see it once in their lives. They just need to find opportunities to fuse it in the future. Looking at Xiaoping's face, Mulan Wei comforted. Ahem, let me ask, is there a Mingjin world pearl auction house? Most of the time, there is no such thing. There is no need to worry about selling that kind of boundary bead. Few people will take it to the auction house after getting it. But it is also possible that if the auction house gets that kind of boundary bead, it will be auctioned among a few VIP customers. It's luck. If it's good, you can take a photo. How much does one cost approximately? 2 to 300,000 gold coins. If you want to ensure 100% success, if you connect the spiritual mind crystal, you will need 5 to 600,000 gold coins. The divine mind crystal called the golden world pearl is also rare. Damn it, this price is too scary. A world pearl is equivalent to several courtyards in the capital city. However, the ability of the ringing gold boundary pearl allows the summoned character to use it repeatedly before the time for the arrival of the plane runs out. The price does not seem so unacceptable. This Malaneway can fuse hundreds of thousands of gold coins into the world bead, and maybe he is also a rich man hiding among the summoners. There was nothing going on with Xiaoping'an here. After Xiaoping'an said goodbye to Malaneway, he left the blockade area of Tianyuan Bridge. As soon as they left Tianyuan Bridge, a luxury carriage came from not far away and stopped in front of Xiaoping'an. Yan Duo's face that deserved a beating was revealed behind the carriage window. Yan Duo opened the car door without saying anything, and Xiaoping'an got into the car without saying anything. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 277. After getting into the car, Xiaoping'an and Yan Duo hugged each other hard, then they punched each other's chest hard, and then they laughed together. Yes, Xiaoping'an and Yan Duo felt the same. When they saw each other here, apart from hugging each other, they both wanted to give each other a hard blow. This is a reunion for the rest of the life after the disaster, and it is also the smile of friends being able to reunite again. There is joy, relief, and the blessing of seeing those who are traveling together. It's great to join the Bushin project and come to this world, and see those familiar faces and partners who are walking together. The carriage drove down the street and began to move again. The curtains of the carriage were drawn, and the two of them chatted in the carriage and exchanged information about the situation. I didn't expect that something would go wrong in the space rift. I almost thought I would never see you again. By the way, do you have any news about the others? Yan Duo said with a smile. Although he was smiling, he still had a smile on his face. His eyes were a little red, but he covered everything up with a smile. You are the first person I saw. Xiaoping'an was equally excited. When he saw Yan Duo at this time, he was as excited as when we met on the long march. His mood was indescribable. Apart from the two of us, other people who participated in the plan may be living in Jinyu's who including Wu Zhanfeng and Lin Cheng. As for the others, there may have been accidents in the space cracks and were transferred to different places. Ah, there are actually them. How did you know? Yan Duo looked surprised. I found out that the blood demon cult is chasing us. They don't know where they got our portraits. As long as they get our heads, they will have a huge reward internally. Why are the blood demon cult chasing us? Yan Duo's expression suddenly became serious. The blood demon cult has a close relationship with the devil's eye. You can think of it as the devil's eye in this world. They worship the Lord Demon God, and I suspect that they may already know the purpose of our coming to this world, so they don't hesitate to all costs are being paid to stop us. You have to be careful. Xiaoping'an looked at Yan Duo's face after his change. I thought you already knew, and that's why you deliberately made yourself look like this. Haha, you are sure to be careful. A proud expression appeared on Yan Duo's face. You didn't even look at who I was. Am I that stupid? As soon as I landed, I found that there was a problem with the space transmission, and there was no one around. Being in a completely unfamiliar place, I felt something was wrong. Out of caution, I cut my own hair and changed my face. By the way, my current name is not Yan Duo. I changed my name to Yan Zioki, a wandering summoner born and raised in Jinyu as Hu, not a Skywalker. You can call me Yan Zioki from now on. Yan Zioki, this name. Xiaoping'an rubbed his chin, feeling that the name was a bit girly and did not fit Yan Duo's temperament at all. Yan Duo glanced at Xiaoping'an. Zioki is my nickname, do you have any objections? No, it's pretty good. That's pretty much it? What's going on with the countess next to you? Haha, you are quite well informed. What a coincidence. Not long after I changed my name, I met a group of bandits in the wild. Those bandits were discussing kidnapping Lin Sheng. I happened to hear it. Isn't it in our team? Is there a person named Lin Sheng? At that time, I thought those bandits were talking about the Lin Sheng I knew. Later, I followed those bandits. When they took action, I jumped out and killed those bandits. Yan Duo shrugged, raised his eyebrows, and made an expression that made you understand. That's what happened after that. It's the same old story, where the hero saves the beauty, and the beauty gives her body to him. Heroes are also hard to control. This is it. God's will, for the great cause of saving the earth and the world, and for those who survived on the earth to no longer suffer from the poison of space invasion, I reluctantly accepted it, sacrificed myself, and completed the great cause of the Matching the Sky project. You're the first person I've seen who can describe himself as a great person even though he's just eating soft food. Xiaoping'an also laughed. Why dig fields and plant rice seedlings when you can have ready-made rice? Yan Duo smiled meaningfully. That smile was both chic and wild. When I participated in the Sky Mending project, I didn't even care about life or death, and I still cared about other people's lives? A little gossip, a little shame, am I that fragile? In the final analysis, this world is still about strength. Our strength is piled up by world beads and spiritual crystals. If you want to destroy the Dark Tower, you know what it takes: the strength. Xiaoping'an deliberately shook his head with a naive look on his face. What kind of strength is needed? Isn't it to find and then destroy it? Ha ha ha, don't be naive. If the Dark Tower is destroyed so easily, do you think it will be our turn to do this? Yan Duo's face suddenly became serious. I have not been idle these days. I have found some information and found out some news. Don't be surprised when I tell you. What news? If you want to destroy the Tower of Darkness, you need to become a god. Yan Duo stared closely at Xiaoping'an's eyes, trying to see a little surprise in Xiaoping'an's eyes, but there was still no fluctuation in Xiaoping'an's eyes. Yan Duo originally he wanted to show off, but found that Xiaoping'an was unmoved, so he could only curse Xiaoping'an in his heart for his poker face, pretending to be calm. Feng Shen, you understand, only by reaching the peak of power in this world can we destroy the Tower of Darkness, Yan Duo emphasized again. Becoming a god, Xiaoping'an also sighed slightly. It became increasingly difficult to reach the Four Yang realm. I really don't know how difficult and uncertain the so-called conferred god is. You don't have to despair. In fact, I think those who formulated the Matching the Sky plan already knew that destroying the Dark Tower requires apotheosis, but we didn't know it. Oh, why do you say that? Those who participated in the Matching the Sky project have put their life and death at risk. Each and every one of them had to give themselves as much blood as possible before they had the courage to participate in this project. If everyone knew that it was still so difficult to destroy the Dark Tower, and that hope was still so slim, it would be almost impossible. It is possible to complete the task. How many people do you think are confident enough to participate in the Matching the Sky project? Many people may hesitate. Yan Duo nodded. We were just kept in the dark. Being able to destroy the Tower of Darkness and solve the problem of space invasion once and for all is naturally the highest goal of the Mending Sky project, but we cannot accomplish this highest goal. If we can, this world should try to improve its strength as much as possible. When the space channel back to the Earth is opened, we can go back to fight the evil eye or be able to deal with more serious space invasions, or we can be an internal response and a variable in this world to prepare for the future. People who participated in the skymending project provide help. I guess this is the second lowest goal of the skymending project. In a word, whether it is the highest goal or the second lowest goal of the skymending project, we are here to improve our strength. If you don't have strength, everything is nonsense. As long as you are strong enough, all problems can be solved. Yan Duo's head is really useful. When he explained it like this, Xiaopinggan felt that this was indeed the case. As Yan Duo spoke, he took out a bottle of wine from the wine cabinet of the luxury carriage and poured a glass for Xiaopinggan. By the way, Yan Duo, who was holding the wine glass, sat up straight and seemed to remember something. You haven't talked about your current situation yet. Have you joined the state machine of the Great Shang Kingdom? Just now you reminded me that after I left, there was chaos there, and then it was blocked by the police in the capital. I thought something had happened to you. If you didn't come out of the blocked area, I would have to find a way to find you. Xiaopingyan touched his nose and said, a state machine, so to speak. I feel that the capital city is where Jinyu's resources gather. If you gain a foothold here, it will be easier to obtain training resources and it should be easier to advance. Ha ha ha, not bad, not bad, it seems you are thinking the same thing as me. Yan Duo laughed, and then in Xiaopinggan's eyes, he stretched out his hand, patted Xiaopinggan's shoulder carelessly, and said with a confident face, he gave Xiaopinggan some pointers, but I don't think it's feasible for you to join the state machine. There are too many people in this state machine, and you have no background. Whatever resources fall into your hands will probably be left behind. It's not much. You will either starve to death or be full. Among the people who participated in the sky mending project in the Great Yan Kingdom, you used to be the most powerful. But without resources, everything will fall behind and you can't keep up. Guess what state I am in now? Ever since he met Xiaopinggan, Yan Duo had not even enjoyed the days when Xiaopinggan was overtaking him. He had been unconvinced and was holding his breath, trying to regain his face. Now, Yan Duo felt that he could finally outdo Xiaopinggan again, finally be proud in front of Xiaopinggan, and regain his dignity and feeling of being strong. Haha, I didn't expect it. Not long after I came here, I had already soaked in the precious Yiyang Divine Spring, fused a lot of world beads, and had advanced to the Yiyang realm. Are you shocked by my realm? There are different levels of eating soft rice, right? Yan Duo thought happily in his heart. He had already thought of his words and was ready to surprise Xiaopinggan. Well, your expression must be reserved when the time comes, and don't be too proud, so as not to hurt Xiaopinggan's self-esteem. Some people are narrow-minded and find it difficult to accept that their companions suddenly surpass themselves by a lot. Be humble, be humble. Yan Duo calmly held the wine glass, as if making a TV commercial, and took a sip of wine. Xiaopinggan looked at Yan Duo and was speechless. The aura of Yiyang realm on Yan Duo's body was too obvious, but the expression on this guy's face was even worse. But having said that, just a few months after coming to this world, this guy has advanced to the Yiyang realm. This cultivation speed is indeed much faster than before in the Order Committee, which is equivalent to flying on an airplane. No wonder this guy is so proud. Under Yan Duo's gaze, Xiaopinggan also reached out and patted Yan Duo's shoulder, who was enjoying the wine. Congratulations on entering the Yiyang realm, Xiaoqi, you have to work hard. In a few days, Nian, when you advance to the 4 Yang realm, you will be able to catch up with me now. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 278. Yan Duo spit out a mouthful of wine and sprinkled it all over himself. He turned his head in shock and looked at Xiaopinggan, The expression on his face was just a few words. Are you bluffing me? Xiaopinggan shrugged, took a leisurely sip of the wine in his hand, and smiled. This condensed wine is good. I just sold a batch in the warehouse I sealed a few days ago. It didn't cost much, totaling hundreds of thousands of gold coins. Maybe this wine of yours is really the batch that I seized and sold. You, seal. Yan Duo stammered. I haven't told you yet. I did join the state apparatus of the Great Shang state. It's just that the state apparatus I joined is extraordinary. It is the adjudication army of the Great Shang state. By the way, I am now the inspector of the Donggang Inspection Office of the Adjudication Army. Envoy Cha, his subordinates are only in charge of dozens of summoners of the One Yang realm and the Second Yang realm, so please give me some advice from Mr. Yan Zioqi. The prepared words were stuck in his throat before he could say them out. He originally wanted to show off and be proud, but found that the gap between himself and Xiaopinggan was not narrowing, let alone leading, but wider. Yan Duo wanted to die. The expression on Yan Duo's face was like opening a dye shop, green, red and white. Finally, Yan Duo smiled bitterly, slumped his shoulders, slumped on the big sofa-like seat in the carriage, and picked up the bottle of wine. I drank a few big gulps of wine before I gasped and cursed myself. If I compete with you again in the future, I will be the biggest fool in the world. You guys are simply a monster. Why do I feel that the Tian mending plan is prepared for you? Don't give up on yourself so much, your brain is very useful, Xiaopinggan smiled. Damn, sometimes I really want to cut open your head to see if what's in your head is different from ours, Yan Duo smiled bitterly. Haha, I guess you won't have this chance. No, Yan Duo took 2 sips of wine and suddenly remembered something. He sat up suddenly and looked at Xiaopinggan with burning eyes. He put both paws on Xiaopinggan's shoulders. You, to be honest, who is the girl standing on the Peach Blossom Bridge with you today? I think that girl's appearance and temperament are top-notch, and she is definitely not an ordinary person. Her name is Cao, her real name is Baitang Wanzhu, and she is the princess of the Great Shang Kingdom. Since Yan Duo wanted to hear the truth, Xiaopinggan did not hide it and directly told Yan Duo Cao's identity. The expression on Yan Duo's face froze again, or he was frustrated again. He looked at Xiaopinggan blankly. Princess, she is actually a princess. It turns out that you are also. Xiaopinggan was surpassed in cultivation, and Yan Duo had already recognized it. Unexpectedly, he was surpassed by Xiaopinggan in this aspect, and in the aspects he thought he was best at. Yan Duo felt that his secret mandala was about to collapse. A shining golden god appeared in his secret mandala. That god was Xiaopinggan. There was no need to think too much. From now on, he just had to worship him. Looking at the expression on Yan Duo's face, Xiaopinggan knew what was going on in this guy's head. It's not what you think. I understand, Yan Duo nodded, with a mean smile on his face. He clasped his hands together, raised them above his head, and sighed. Originally, I thought I was the only one who would take this path, but I didn't expect you to. I admire you, I really admire you. From today on, you are my big brother, my dear brother. I bow down to you. Don't worry, I will keep it a secret for you. I won't do this to anyone but me. Say, whoever dares to speak nonsense will be silenced by you. Forget it. Once I talk to this guy, I feel like I will only be painted in a darker and darker light by this guy. Xiaopinggan didn't bother to explain any more and directly interrupted the topic. What are your plans for coming to the capital this time? Plan? In fact, I don't have any long-term plans. I am a small one-sun realm summoner, and I can't make anything famous now. Originally, I just came with Qing'er to participate in the dragon boat race here. I heard that I was going to the capital. There are many world beads, so I will buy some more world beads. When I get stronger, I will go to Magiazhu to see if I can get in touch with others. Yan Duo said with waning interest. Some of the people who participated in the Matching the Sky project before may have gone to Dating Kingdom in Magiazhu and helped Dating Kingdom manufacture firearms, cannons, and high-energy explosives. Is there still such a guy? He has done everything I want to do. How do you know there is such a person in Datingguo? The Great Shang Kingdom has obtained some of its artillery and explosives technology from the Great Ting Kingdom. You know this kind of thing. Did that princess tell you? Yan Duo looked at Xiaoping'an and his eyes became strange again. He chuckled and said, "You are doing well now. Is there anything you can do to take care of me? I'm not greedy either, just find me some 70 or 80 world beads, the kind with spiritual crystals. It shouldn't be difficult for you, you are the future prince consort of the Shang Kingdom. You'd better not let others know about our relationship, otherwise you may die." The look on Xiaoping'an's face was extremely serious. "Damn it, you're not trying to scare me, are you?" Yan Duo's expression suddenly changed. "It's actually very risky for you to come to me now. In addition to the blood demon cult chasing me, the Crown Prince Baitang Wangchuan of the Great Shang Kingdom and the senior officials of the Judgment Army already know my identity as a Sky Crosser. Therefore, there are two important reasons why I was promoted to Donggang Inspector. First, the senior officials of Baitang Wangchuan and the Judgment Army wanted to use me to lure out the people of the Blood Demon cult and lure the snakes out of their holes. I was the fair and honest bait. Second, the other reason is that you want me to print it out for you. People in the Great Shang Kingdom know our advantages very well, and they also want to use us to help them grow. Therefore, you should be clear-headed. If you let the Blood Demon cult, if people know your identity, you will not be able to live in peace in the future, and the Great Shang Kingdom will also keep an eye on you. Do you still want my world pearl? Then aren't you in danger now? Do you think there are achievements in this world that don't cost anything? Does the princess know your situation? Can she endure it? She still doesn't know my identity as a space traveler, and let me tell you, my relationship with her is not what you think. My position in this position is equivalent to walking a tightrope to a certain extent." Yan Duo sat up straight again, and the look on his face became serious. "Then what are your plans?" Xiaoping'an narrowed his eyes slightly. "What you just said is right. In this world, strength is everything. The reason why I am in Shangjing City is because the cultivation resources here are relatively abundant. My current goal is become stronger as soon as possible. The environment here is the best training for me. I am not afraid of being used by the Great Shang Kingdom, as long as they can pay a corresponding price. The more exposed my identity is, the more I can attract the blood demon. Teaches attention, reduces stress on others. Due to an accident in space teleportation, everyone is now separated and has no contact with each other at all. It is also very difficult to seek help from companions. This is actually very detrimental to the completion of the sky patching plan. If it is because of me, all the separated people can be gathered together, get up and re-establish contact channels. In this way, you will be more confident in completing the sky patching plan and will be more helpful to the Earth. However, it is not convenient for me to come forward to contact you because I have been exposed. You understand me? What do you mean? You said, let me do it. You are the most suitable candidate. If I become famous in the Great Shang Kingdom, Wu Zhanfeng and other separated people may know that I am in the capital. They should find a way to contact me. Then you can slowly organize all of us again. At least we can exchange information, so that we will not be completely alone and scattered. You mean to form a secret organization? The forms can be various. We came to this world for the same goal. Everyone is too weak to fight alone. A certain degree of unity is still necessary. Just like now, for you and me, maybe it is not difficult to come up with 10,000 gold coins. These 10,000 gold coins can only play a limited role for us, but other people, If they don't have the ability and luck like you and me, they may still be fighting for a few gold coins. Destiny is looking for various opportunities. And those who have participated in the sky mending project before, those who have already achieved achievements and resources, may also be thinking about how to make more efficient use of the resources at hand, and how to complete it better. Plan to allow more people like us who come into this world to grow quickly. Yan Duo suddenly became more energetic. I understand. Actually, I have recently had an idea to set up an organization in the world of Yuankai with members of the Tian Mending Project as the core. This organization can not only make money, collect intelligence, but also communicate with other people. Human contact can link everyone's strengths, protect everyone, but avoid restricting each other, and can stab the blood demon cult a few times at critical moments. I'm still thinking about how to do it. You have a good idea. If there is such an organization, it will be helpful to everyone involved in the sky mending project. This is 200,000 gold coins. Xiaopingan heard Yan Duo's words and took out a few gold tickets and handed them directly to Yan Duo. Seize, just think of it as the upfront capital I provide you. You have your own money in hand, and it will be more convenient to do things. As expected, he is a rich man, so generous. Yan Duo sighed, took the gold ticket handed over by Xiaopingan, and asked, "This is not a small amount of money, so you are not afraid that I will embezzle it? You risked your life and came to this world just to embezzle some gold coins." Xiaopingan smiled. Yan Duo stopped talking and put the gold coins away. "How will we contact you in the future? Do you still remember the media code words used by the Order Committee in emergencies?" The two discussed their contact information, and the carriage they were riding in was blocked by the police on the road ahead. Police in Beijing set up checkpoints to check vehicles. The incident at Peach Blossom Bridge suddenly made the entire Shangjing city tense, and there were many more police officers on the street. Dong dong dong. The police outside knocked on the glass window of the carriage with a baton. "Please open the door and get out for inspection." Yan Duo opened the door and got out of the car. "Are you alone?" The policeman who set up the check-in glanced at the car and asked. "One person?" Yan Duo was stunned and turned around. The carriage was empty. Xiaopingan was nowhere to be seen. Yan Duo had no idea why Xiaopingan had disappeared. "Grandma, is the gap so big?" Yan Duo smiled bitterly in his heart. Facing the policeman who looked at him with scrutinizing eyes, he could only reply, "Well, it's just me." "What is your name?" "Yan Zioki." "Where's the ID?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 279. The lower reaches of Qinan River, the mouth of the sea. There's another corpse floating down from above. Wow, it's still a water monster. This is probably the 70th fish caught by that boat. The marine police from Shangjing City drove several steamboats puffing out black smoke, as well as hundreds of temporarily organized fishing boats. They were salvaging the corpses drifting down from the upper reaches of the Qinan River where it entered the sea. Seeing the bodies fished out of the fishing nets, the people on the fishing boats screamed again. The corpses of water monsters were piled on the fishing boats one after another. Some of the corpses of the water monsters were still intact, but there were some wounds in the vital parts. There were also many corpses of the water monsters, which were in bits and pieces. The mutilated water monster, with a head, a leg, and half a body, was everywhere. The body of the water demon had been soaked in the water for an unknown amount of time, and the wounds had turned a little white. The muscles, internal organs, and intestines at the wounds were like water plants soaked in the water, swaying lifelessly with the waves. Some wounds were still covered with tissue. The traces of fish bites and the ferocious face of the water monster lose all their deterrent power once turned into a corpse, and they look similar to the slaughtered seafood in the market. The fishing boats that salvaged the corpses were a little scared at first, but gradually they got used to it. There was a time just now when the water of Xuanhuan River was red when flowing down from it. The marine police, fishermen, those fishing on the shore, and the guests on the ship were all frightened. Then, the corpse of the water demon flowed down from the upper reaches. People here finally know why Xuanhuan River is red. Because besides water, there is blood flowing in the river, blood that can dye the entire river red. Something big must have happened in the upper reaches of the Xuanhuan River. Someone has already thought of the dragon boat race held today on the Xuanhuan River. Wherever the red water flows, the atmosphere of panic will follow. But this panic did not last long, because soon everyone discovered that the corpses floating down from the upper reaches were not human, only those of water monsters, and there were more and more corpses of water monsters, almost densely packed with human corpses. Not a single body in sight. As long as there are no human bodies in the river, no one will be afraid. Gradually, many people gathered on the shore at the mouth of the sea to watch the excitement. There were tens of thousands of people who came to see the excitement. Workers from the nearby dock and shipyard, residents and people fishing and hanging out on the beach all came over. Everyone gathered on both sides of the embankment at the estuary to look at the salvage situation in the water. Pointing. I bet that the fishing boat Longan has caught the most water monster corpses. I made the most from the fucking cruise, 2 silver coins. I bet the Tianyuan will get more, 5 silver coins. Among the people on the shore watching the marine police and fishing boats salvage work, there were even a few green men who opened the handicap and directly placed their bets. There are still many people talking about it. Why are there so many corpses of water monsters in this river? I heard that the demons from the blood demon sect are causing trouble. What's causing trouble? Did the blood demon cult bite people so that these water monsters perform suicides upstream? Why didn't the human corpses be seen, but the corpses of the water monsters came one after another? What nonsense are you talking about? Do you want to see someone floating down? That's not what I meant. I wish I could go to the capital safely, but it's just too strange to see so many corpses of water monsters. Isn't it strange that the adjudication army is guarding us when we go to the capital? There may also be idiots from the blood demon sect who are full of food and come out to come up with some tricks for everyone to have fun. Come on, let's go and bet. Among the crowd, there was a man wearing a straw hat and holding a fishing rod. He was slightly stooped and hunched. He looked like an old man fishing here. He looked at the corpses of water monsters in the river and listened to the sounds around him. People were talking, cold light flashed in their eyes, and their faces were ashen. The lucky boy squatted on the old man's hat, and the old man didn't even notice. This old man is the water demon Xiao Dahai. At this moment, Xiao Dahai has become an old fisherman living alone in a village on the seaside of Shangjing City. The prototype of the old Diao old man had been cut into pieces by Xiao Dahai and thrown into the sea to feed the fish. Even the old Diao old man's neighbors in the village didn't know that their neighbor had already been replaced by someone else without knowing it. Xiao Dahai was originally waiting here to watch the excitement and see his masterpiece. What he wanted to see were the countless corpses of the people in the capital floating down from the upper reaches. What he wanted to see was the frightened and pale faces of the people around him. He wanted to see what he saw was that the entire Shangjing city was trembling under his lustful power. What he wanted to see was that the name Xiao Dahai could shock the Shangjing city and become everyone's nightmare. But everything before him was like a cruel mockery of him. Impossible, impossible. When I released the water monsters, there were no strong people near the Peach Blossom Bridge. Those summoners who maintained order, even if they could detect the water monsters coming, and even if they could finally kill these water monsters, they would not be able to evacuate in time. Crowd, this is a massacre. The people who died the most must be those who went to the capital. How could it be my own water demon? Chiao Dahai roared in his heart. Hey, old man, do you want to bet on which boat can catch the most water monster corpses? You'll pay 3 for 1. A green-skinned man with acne on his face approached Chiao Dahai and asked. The livid expression on Chiao Dahai's face disappeared instantly, and he suddenly became lonely and cold. He snorted coldly, I still have 2 fish in the fish basket. Do you want to bet? TCH, it turns out I don't have any money. Who wants to bet your 2 stinky fish with you? Taking one last look at the situation in the river, Chiao Dahai carried the fishing rod and fish basket, turned around and walked towards a village by the sea. There are more than 300 households in the village, which is right on the seaside. On the seaside next to the village are rows of small fishing boats. People who go to the capital don't eat fish in the Chinan River, but they still eat fish in the sea, so the whole village depends on fishing for a living. The elderly people in the village who can't get on the boat go fishing or go to the beach. Get some fish, shrimp, and seafood in the basket. Although you don't make as much money as fishing, you can still make some money, which can be exchanged for some wine money every day. There are many small villages like this near the seaside, and there are even more old men like the incarnation of Chiao Dahai. The old man that Chiao Dahai incarnates is a widowed man in the village. He has no children or a wife. He has a weird and withdrawn temper and doesn't like to talk to people. When Chiao Dahai walks through the village, no one greets him. The hut where Chiao Dahai lived was very dilapidated, less than 400 meters away from the beach, and stood alone in front of a slope covered with weeds. When we returned to the small shabby house, the sun had already set. There was insufficient light in the small shabby house. All kinds of things were piled up in disorder in the house. It was pitch black everywhere and it was extremely depressing. Chiao Dahai Customs came to the door, put down his fishing rod, poured the fish in the fish basket into the water tank, and then waved his hand. The sound in the hut was completely blocked from the outside world. If people were outside, listening to the sound in the house, just dead silence. Chiao Dahai scanned the room with dazzling eyes, and said 2 words in a low voice, come out. Hey hey hey, you're on good alert. In the shadow of a dilapidated cupboard in the house, a shadow twisted, slowly revealing a human figure wearing a golden ghost face mask and his whole body wrapped in thick black mist. The person in the thick fog smiled softly, you failed in your performance today. The famous water demon Chiao Dahai made his first move in Shangjing City. He consumed tens of thousands of water demon eggs, and the result was only 100 or 200 people were killed, and not even a single corpse of those people could be seen in the river. He, this job is not very beautiful. Humph, Chiao Dahai snorted coldly, it's not your dark devil's turn to worry about my affairs. If you are good, you can kill hundreds of people under the eyes of the adjudicating army. Let me see. I'm afraid you don't have that. Be brave. Giggle. The dark devil, whose whole body was covered in thick black mist, laughed. The original man's voice changed into a woman's when he laughed, making people's skin crawl. Then, the dark devil's voice came again. Becoming older, like an old man, there are many ways to kill. You don't have to use courage, but you also need to use your brain. You don't want to know why you failed today, and who ruined your good deeds. What do you mean? Chiao Dahai's eyes moved. Don't be so careful. Among the skywalkers who appeared in Jinya continent and were rewarded by the palace master with the immortal pill, one is in Shangjing City. He is the one who ruined your good deeds today. If you want the immortal pill, we can cooperate once, as long as we take that person's head, we can share the immortality pill equally. Immortal elixir? Hearing these 3 words, Chiao Dahai's eyes flashed with greedy brilliance. These 3 words seemed to have a huge temptation on him. Who is the space traveler you are talking about? Xia Ping'an, the inspector of the adjudication army's Donggang inspection office. It was he who discovered something underwater at Dehua Bridge today and gave an early warning, asking those onlookers to evacuate in advance. Later, he set up a military formation at Dehua Bridge to snipe the water monster. It's all in vain. The dark demon said, his voice changing to that of a boy again, but he didn't know that the god of fortune boy had climbed onto his head and was peeing on his head with his teeth bared. The Judgment Army will let a Skywalker join and serve as an inspector. Xiaoping'an is just a bait. The last time he went to the capital city to annihilate his entire army, the senior officials of the Great Shang Kingdom already knew his identity and knew that our blood demon cult wanted his head, so they deliberately placed him in a conspicuous place. The place is luring us into taking the bait. Do the adjudicators think we can't spot this kind of trick? You know it's a trap, but you still let me get in. This is the interesting part. The dark demon's voice was ethereal and strange, echoing in the dilapidated cabin. We ate the meat in the trap right under the eyes of the Judgment Army, and we were able to escape intact. Have you recovered the face you lost today? You have also obtained the immortality pill. If the palace master knows that we killed Xiaoping'an under such circumstances, there must be a heavy reward. When the palace master is happy, he may reward us. The amount of immortality elixir will be doubled. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 280. Haha, that's easy to say, Xiao Dehai sneered with his eyes narrowed. Is the immortal pill so easy to get? It's difficult to say it, but it's easy to say it. Do you still remember the Skywalker named Lin Cheng? Are you talking about the person who was skinned and mutilated by the palace master as a blood sacrifice? He didn't even say the names of other Skywalkers before he died. In the end, half of his body was left and he was still cursing the palace master. Exactly, just like the Yushin subalter, Wei Zhongxing was the first to perform meritorious service, but he just got lucky. He actually captured the Skywalker named Lin Cheng alive and delivered it to the palace master. The palace master was very happy. The reward of immortality pills has changed from 10 to 20, aren't you excited? Xiao Dehai licked his lips, already a little excited. What are your plans? The Donggang district is close to the sea. There is water everywhere, which is just right for you to use your strengths. We will set up a bureau. You will be responsible for attracting him, and then I will be responsible for taking action. As long as we are fast enough, we can defeat the masters of the Judgment Army. Before you react, move away quickly after you succeed. How to do it specifically, please tell me first and let me hear it. Let's find a passenger ship first and sink the cargo ship when it enters the port. Dark Demon's voice changed, and a trap for Xiaoping'an came out of his mouth. Sir, what's wrong with you? Are your eyes uncomfortable? In the shop of Basilin in Tianyuan Kiao, shopkeeper Su from Basilin looked at Xiaoping'an, who was talking to him just now, and his eyes suddenly turned red, and he couldn't help but ask with concern. Xiaoping'an forced a smile and said, well, maybe it's because I've been in a hurry to practice recently and I took some pills and something went wrong. My eyes often feel a little uncomfortable. By the way, if there is a treasure world master, you can keep it for me. See you again in a few days. Okay, don't worry. I'll keep it for you if there are any. But the Mingjin Realm Master is very rare. I haven't seen one in the shop I've opened here for decades. Guest, you can go to Pengwang to auction it. Let's take a look. Okay, then I'll go to Pengwang auction house to have a look. Sir, this is your boundary bead, please put it away and walk slowly. Shopkeeper Su wrapped the lion language bead that Xiaoping'an had just bought in a box and handed it to Xiaoping'an. The lion language world bead is the name of this world. After fusing this world bead, the summoner can have a very special auxiliary secret method, that is, when speaking, he can roar like a lion, deafening, as if he is wearing a big trumpet. Likewise, people dozens of miles away can hear it if they want. In Xiaoping'an's eyes, there are only 4 words in this lion language world bead, a blockbuster. Xiaoping'an received the Jizu into the space warehouse and turned around to leave. Shopkeeper Su kept sending Xiaopingan outside the store. After walking out of the pearl forest and into the night market outside, Xiaopingan felt his heart sting as he looked at the bustling streets. Lin Qing's face appeared in Xiaopingan's head. He had a flat head, a resolute face, two thick black eyebrows, and was taciturn, but when he smiled, there was a hint of honesty. This was all Lin Qing left for Xiaopingan. Impression. From participating in the Mending Sky project to finally leaving, Xiaopingan and Lin Qing may have spoken less than 3 sentences. But now, Lin Qing is dead. If the people who participated in the Tian Mending project in Dian Kingdom were like classmates in the same class, then Lin Qing was the kind of person who often sat in the corner, unknown, and never stood up to answer questions. They had just met Yan Duo, and the two were discussing how to gather the scattered companions so that everyone could grow together. Unexpectedly, Xiaopingan heard the news of Lin Qing's death in the blink of an eye. Lin Qing was skinned and cut off as a blood sacrifice, and was tortured. However, before he died, he did not say the names of himself and others. Instead, he cursed these people of the blood demon cult. The blood demon sect's Yushan branch? There is no province or place in the Great Shang Kingdom called Yushan, but in the northwest of the Great Shang Kingdom, there is a place called Yushan, where Lin Qing's accident happened. The master of the blood demon sect? According to the information Xiaopingan has, this hall master of the blood demon sect should be the highest controller of the blood demon sect in Jinyu continent, and his strength should be at least the 8 Yang realm or the 9 Yang realm. I will kill you and avenge Lin Qing. And Wei Zhongxin from Yushan, Lord Wei, please live well and wait for me to come to you. Xiaopingan raised his head and looked at the deep night sky, his eyes were as cold as frost, he clenched his fists and swore secretly in his heart. The best way to pay tribute to a sacrificed comrade is to become stronger and then avenge him. If you want revenge, you have to rely on strength, strength. Unknowingly, Xiaopingan walked outside the Peking auction house again. He glanced at the huge golden rock outside the Peking auction house, took a deep breath, and the expression on his face returned to calm. And then with firm steps, he once again stepped into the gate of King Peng auction house. The Mingjin world bead can allow the summoned soldiers to engage in battle repeatedly. A Mingjin world bead can greatly increase one's strength in battle and increase the efficiency of using divine power many times. Therefore, what Xiaopingan desires most now is to find a golden world bead. Since you can't find it anywhere else, come to the largest auction house in Beijing. Hello, how can I help you? A beautiful woman standing at the door of Pengwang auction house came over and asked enthusiastically. I'd like to see the auction listings from your latest auction. Okay, please follow me. The beauty took Xiaopingan to a reception room and quickly brought Xiaopingan a list of items for the auction. This is the list of items for the large auction we will hold the day after tomorrow. The so-called large-scale auctions at Pengwang auction house are actually the most common auctions for most people. The general auction unit price of items at such auctions will not exceed 5,000 gold coins. Xiaopingan's eyes swept across the items on the list. Among them, the world beads and spiritual crystals occupied most of the positions in the auction list. Most of those world beads are common world beads on the market. He has fused them all. There are not many world beads that have not been fused, only 7 or 8. As for the divine mind crystal, it is meaningless to Xiaopingan. Too lazy to look. In addition to the world beads, some elixirs and magic weapons used by summoners are also being auctioned. Xiaopingan wrote down the names of the auction world beads that he had not fused before, and then asked, is there anything special, such as the Jinji pearl? The Mingjin world pearl is of high value and is a rare item. The list of rare auction items can only be seen by VIPs of the auction house, the beautiful woman introduced with a smile. How can I become a VIP of your auction house? The membership fee for VIPs of our auction house is 19,999 gold coins. As long as you pay 19,999 gold coins, you can enjoy the VIP treatment of Penwang Auction House and participate in the auction house's VIP special auction. If you want something special, we the auction house will also keep an eye on it for you and will notify you if there is one. 19,999 gold coins. This is a wealth that 99% of the people in the capital city will never be able to achieve in their lifetime, but this is only the price of the VIP ticket for the Penwang auction house. Even for the vast majority of summoners who came to the capital, such as Long Chao and Sidu Hua from the Donggang Inspectorate, it would be difficult for them to come up with nearly this huge sum of money at once. Some middle and low-level summoners had difficulties. When I had some money, I went to buy the world beads, but I couldn't afford to save so much money. After listening to the woman's introduction, Xiaopingan didn't hesitate at all. He took out the 20,000 gold ticket and handed it to the woman. When Xiaopingan came out of the auction house, he was already a distinguished guest of Penwang auction house. Xiaopingan has also seen the auction list of the VIP special auction of Penwang auction house. The time is 7 days later. The auction list contains some rare world beads and rare spiritual crystals. There is no Mingjin world bead. However, Xiaopingan has asked the auction house to keep an eye on him. As long as the auction house has news, it will proactively notify Xiaopingan. The contact address Xiaopingan left for himself was Zhougonglu. As long as the auction house had news about the Jinji bead, the letter would be sent to Zhougonglu. After leaving Tianyuan Kiao night market, Xiaopingan called a carriage and asked the carriage to take him to Bailing Lane. Because of what happened during the day, there were police patrols everywhere in Shangjing tonight. Although the patrolling police could not catch anyone from the blood demon cult, they could at least make ordinary people feel at ease. There were also 2 policemen standing at the entrance of Bailing Alley. Because of the presence of the police, the entrance to the brothel in the alley suddenly became much deserted. Many men who originally wanted to come out for fun shrank their heads when they saw the police at the entrance of the alley. So we took another detour. There were fewer people coming, and the Yingying Liuliu in the alley also behaved a lot and no longer came out to solicit customers in the alley. After crossing the alley, Xiaopingan came to the door of Wuvaizai again and walked inside Wuvaizai. There was a person in Wuvaizai who was redeeming something. Lan Wuvai, who was flipping through a book behind the counter and calculating interest rates, was slightly stunned when he saw Xiaopingan. At this moment, Xiaopingan, wearing a Ruyi mask on his face, still looked like Yang Cheng. "Shopkeeper Yang, long time no see. What a rare visitor. Do you have business to take care of the shop?" "Well, I have something that I would like shopkeeper Lan to take a look at." "Then, please wait a moment inside, I'll be here soon." Still in that familiar secret room, Xiaopingan only waited for a few minutes before Lan Wuvai came in. Lan Wuvai was a little surprised that Xiaopingan was already an inspector, and he actually came to Wuvaizai. "That person contacted me again. He said he knew where the water demon was." Just one word from Xiaopingan made Lan Wuvai almost jump. The entire Shangjing city and the entire Judgment Army have been looking for traces of the 5 demons of the Blood Demon sect these days, especially the water demon caused such a big thing at Dehua Bridge today, which made a bunch of big guys extremely angry. "I didn't expect that so quickly, that people found traces of the water demon?"